my brave, bold, beautiful creatives. My name is Mel. You are here with us at Create and Company. And today we're going on with The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin, our virtual eternal online book club. And today we're going to talk about some cool things because we're talking about the abundant mindset. We're talking about the experimenter versus the finisher, how they can take from each other. We're also talking about temporary rules. And at the very end, we now talk about greatness. My favorite part so far in this section has been the greatness part. Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm a coach that helps creatives get out of procrastination and into consistent flow, enjoyable action on their creative dream projects. That's why I'm reading this book, because Rick Rubin knows a lot about how to get into flow, how to listen to the work, how to listen to yourself, and how to create from a higher place for a higher place. So we're going to keep going today. As you know, I like to sticky note stuff. And because I ran out of each color, we have a beautiful rainbow going on here. Oh, and if you are curious about how I can help you get to work on your creative project with more confidence, flow, and focus, then you can check that in the Dropbox below, because it will maybe have been updated by the time you see this. So check it out and you'll find out how you can work with me. Okay, let's start. The abundant mindset. He has the metaphor of a river, and he says that a river of material flows through us. When we share our work and our ideas, they are replenished. So don't take that lightly. Let that sink in. This concept of it's not logical like we've been taught, that when you give something away, you're left with less. This is like a river. Think of a river that has a steady flow. It's not scared to let the water down the hill because more water is coming. So think of it as the more I share, the more ideas I will be gifted by the metaphoric creative gods. In the abundant mindset, the river never runs dry. Ideas are always coming through, and an artist is free to release them with the faith that more will arrive. I found that to be the essence of this mini chapter, because often, just the trust that this won't be your last great idea. And he, in a way, outs many of us creatives that have procrastinated before by saying, hey, a lot of times you don't finish a project because you're so scared there won't be more after this. And he's assuring us more will be there. And that the more you release, the more practice you'll have, the more you'll get to know yourself. The more we share, the more our skills improve, he says. Choosing to live in scarcity leads to stagnation. I'm thinking of when you're at the doctor and, the heartbeat goes, stagnation. In the abundant world, we have a greater capacity to complete and release our work. When there are so many ideas available and so much great art to make, we are compelled to engage, let go, and move forward. And throughout these mini chapters, he talks about that. He's like, rinse and repeat. You make the idea, you release it, you make the next idea, you release it, and it becomes, like he says, there's more momentum, there's less stagnation, there's more flow. He says, a musician may delay releasing an album for fear that they haven't taken the songs as far as they can go. Perfectionism, anybody? Yet an album is only a diary entry of a moment in time, a moment of time, a snapshot reflection of who the artist is for that period. And no one diary entry is our life story. So first he starts with assuring us more ideas will come when we release some. And then he says, hey, you don't want to hold onto this forever, because then it's not even going to represent you. And so that snapshot, that chapter, that's not the whole story. The sun is, there we go. Yeah, so trust that you want to tell the story when it's fresh is what I'm hearing here. He also says to not assume that your old work is going to be better than your new work, or that your new work is going to be better than your old work. He's encouraging us to take off those heavy labels and judgments. Also, he says that to assume there was a golden period and your past is only true, and your past, it is only true if you accept that premise. Putting your best effort in at each moment, in each chapter, is all we can ever hope to accomplish. I put a sticky on that one because it's the classic try your best in the moment. And I think sometimes we compare ourselves to past works or to other people's works, and that's going to backfire in our flow and in our consistent and gratifying journey of creating throughout our lives. He has another metaphor that's really beautiful. He says that if you hold on to a work for too long, it's like a photo that starts to fade. It's dispiriting to complete and share a work you've lost connection with. So, not to threaten all of us, and yet I do take that as a nudge towards, hey, if you lose connection with your work because you're procrastinating so long, it's going to be not as enjoyable to share it. Dispiriting. I had never heard that word said in that format. I'll say one more thing from this mini chapter. The recognition of abundance fills us up with hope that our brightest ideas still await us and our greatest work is yet to come. So don't think that because this seems like the best thing you've ever done, you have to make it even better. Like, release it when you feel it's time to release it and trust more will come. Okay, the next mini chapter is called The Experimenter and the Finisher. And here he's basically telling you that as much as he's telling you, like in the last chapter, he was encouraging you to finish it sooner. Now he's like, hey, there are some finishers that rush too much and they lose some of the gems that the experimenters have. Do you know what I mean? Because the experimenters, they taste it more, they play with it more, they discover it more, they question it more. And yet the bane of the eternal experimenter is that they don't finish. So in this mini chapter, he says, each can take from the other. The next mini chapter on page 207 is temporary rules. This is connected to the earlier mini chapter about breaking rules. Here he says that some rules can serve us, and he gives some really cool examples of artists that use rules to magnify their connection to their work and what they brought out of their work. For example, there was an artist called Yves Klein who only worked in the palette of blues, so much that they say he invented or found a new blue, and they named it after him, the International Klein Blue. He also talked about Georges Perec, sounds like a French name, who took out the letter E from his entire book. So imagine writing with no E's. I would have to see if he only used words without E's or if he took out the E's. Either way, that was a very groundbreaking experiment. And then he talks about the movie director Lars von Trier, who made these rules of chastity of how to keep within certain parameters of filmmaking. And then when a film was released within those rules called The Celebration, it got a lot of success and well, we're going to talk about success later, but he did say right here, it was instant critical success. So this mini chapter is about how some rules can serve the end at certain times. Here we go. Whatever you choose, decide on a framework that breaks your normal rhythm and see where it leads. Just by the nature of the limitations you set, the work will be different from what you've done before. And listen to this part, everyone, because this is what I really like. He always brings it back to how we live our lives. Right after he said that, he says, it is of little importance whether it's better. The purpose is self-discovery. Love that part. By breaking the rules, you'll come to have a greater understanding of your past choices. So what he meant here is he was saying, like, if you normally write in long paragraphs, write in short ones. And even if you don't end up liking writing in short ones, it will inform your long ones and vice versa. A greater understanding of your past choices. And he admits that a lot of people are fearful of changing up the way they do their work because they think they'll lose their audience. But he says that new fans will appear that like the new thing you're doing. And that it's very important to not do everything for that approval of the audience. He says, whatever the case, the decision to limit your work to the familiar is a disservice to both you and your audience. The energy of wonder and discovery can get lost when treading the same ground over and over. Repetition. A rule is a way of structuring awareness. That is on page 213 as its own standalone sentence. So you know Rick wants us to pay attention to that one. How we pay attention, how we are aware. Okay, we end on greatness. Oh my gosh, this was juicy. He said that when we create great art, we are doing it for no other purpose than creating our version of the beautiful, bringing all of ourselves to every project, whatever its parameters and constraints. Consider it an offering. Consider it an offering, a devotional act. So for those of you that that like living in the spiritual, you could call it. I love that he called it a devotional act. In the past, I have switched up the word discipline to devotional in some of my email community. When I've sent out, I've said, hey, what if we were devoted to our work? And then he goes on to talk again about fear of criticism. And he says this. He says that the most important litmus test here, the most important quality is, do you love your art? That makes it great. Do you love your art? He says that people who say, well, I don't like it, but I know others are going to like it. He says that's okay, but that's not art. He says that's a commercial endeavor. That's business. You found yourself in the business of commerce, which is fine. It just may not be art. And he says there's no bright line between the two, but he wants you to trust the priority of you loving your art. And this got a red sticky. Instead of focusing on what making this will bring you, focus on what you contribute to this art to make it the best it could possibly be, with no limitation. So again, it's this devotion to the art, to the truth, to the beauty, as your perspective allows you to live it. At the very end, he says, okay, this is really beautiful because he talks about what can happen when you truly make great art. When you make great art, he says that what happens is a ripple effect occurs. The bar is set for everything you do, which may not only lift your work to new heights, but raise the vibration of your entire life. It may even inspire others to do their best work. Greatness begets greatness. It's infectious. So what he's saying here is, you setting that bright example of greatness, it's not just going to help your art, it's going to help your whole life, and it's going to rub off on others. It's going to be an example for others to live as well. The next thing we'll be looking at tomorrow is success, mini chapter success. Look at this beautiful rainbow. Today was fun because it got me more rooted in why finishing projects is important, and trusting that there are many more that are coming after that, possibly the greatest in our experience so far. So to not get attached to the nostalgia or the idealization of the past, or even a stagnant present, to let things flow, to trust the abundant mindset of, the more I let this go, the more skills I will gain, the more ideas I will be gifted with. So thank you for coming along with this book club. If you want, you can subscribe. That way you'll know when I share new videos. You'll be the first to know. And if you want to comment about what touched you in this section, what got you thinking, what you agree with, maybe what you disagree with, what you're going to apply, please let me know in the comments below. Okay, see you soon.